I am your host of the Fighting Queens interview, Jake, not from State Farm. And today we have a woman who is very, very busy on her schedule. She's a fighter, she's a wrestler, and now coming up, she's getting ready to compete in, I believe, her very first slap fight. Help me welcome in Miss Jeslyn Michelle. What's going on, Miss Jeslyn?
Hello. How are you doing? Thank you for having me on this. You were saying I was pretty busy, so I'm glad I could squeeze you in. Just kidding. I'm not busy. I just do a lot of random stuff, random times.
But
Not
hey, I mean,
busy. I'm very
okay.
excited.
I'm definitely excited too. I mean, how have you been doing as of late?
You know, it's been really interesting deciding to do the slap contest because they had asked me in previous years, and I was like, no, I'm training. I'm an MMA fighter. I fight. I don't want to do that. But I guess we'll get into why I chose to finally agree to it. This is my fourth opportunity that they've asked me. So, you know, we'll get into that as you ask questions, right?
Yeah, of
Otherwise,
course.
everything else has been it's been a trying year, I think, for a lot of people. Not in
Yeah,
a bad way, but just there's a lot of changes happening, like as a general entire conscious of
yeah.
all of us humans. Things are happening and changing.
They definitely are happening and changing as well. So let's go ahead and get things started. So we all get inspired by what we do best. Me when it comes to interviewing, you when it comes to fighting. So what inspired you to start fighting?
I never thought I was going to be an MMA fighter. I never even thought of it. I think maybe back in 2012, and when it started really blowing up early in the this century, I was like, "Why are they doing that? That's not a martial art. They're brutal." And it was more brutal back then, all the pride fights and stuff. So I was like, I just told someone the other day, I was like, I judged them. I scoffed at them. Like I didn't think it was the right thing to do, but like, who am I to say what's the right thing to do, right? Years later, I realized maybe I just wanted to do it. Maybe I was just so fascinated by it. But where I grew up, we didn't have anything like that. Just maybe wrestling and high school wrestling, and I had to play basketball, so I couldn't do any of that. But yeah, I literally stumbled into a gym. Like I probably tripped when I walked in, so I say literally stumbled, but I never had any intentions on getting into it when I walked through those doors. I was walking through those doors just so I could learn something real to enhance my pro wrestling. Because at the time I was pro wrestling a lot. I was engaged to a big name pro wrestler who's on WWE currently. And I just was really wanting to enhance these fight skills, even though pro wrestling and fighting is totally different.
Yeah.
And just being at the gym turned into more and more. And I realized I was natural. I was a natural.
And of course, another thing too is, I mean, you talked about, the pro wrestling aspects, and from somebody who is a very big fan of pro wrestling, I mean, how did that all come about too?
Right. So I only know one other girl who related to me on not having been a huge fan since we were kids. I knew pro wrestling was around when I was a kid. I saw WWE. I don't think WWF was still around. I don't think I'm that old, but I remember those wrestlers and stuff. But there's another gal that I wrestled with. She was actually my first match, my debut pro wrestling match. Her name's Thunder Rosa. And she said, I am the same way, Desi, which was my name. She's like, I don't watch wrestling. I never watched wrestling. And sometimes I might watch stuff to just watch tape. But we both agreed we don't watch wrestling. We were never fans per se. What happened for me is I always knew I wanted to perform. I loved being in front of crowds. I loved entertaining. I loved, making people feel something from when you're on there. And I didn't know wrestling did that. I thought wrestling was this silly, carny, fake thing. It wasn't. That's what my dad told me because he loved boxing. But
Yeah.
when I accidentally walked in on a live local kind of backyardy pro wrestling show up in Sacramento, and I was only there because I was using the venue the following night for a performance art performance that I was doing, probably aerial, which I used to do a lot of weird burlesque, interpretive dance, aerial stuff. And so I went to go look at the stage and the setting, and then they had a pro wrestling show going on in this theater. And just even walking in, you could feel the energy and you could feel the cheers and you could feel it just was so freaking energetic and cool. And I saw them being athletes. I saw them being performers. I saw them doing stunts. And I was like, how have I missed this? This is for me. This is what I'm going to do. And I'll never forget. I called them the next day and I said, this is what I'm going to do. The lady on the phone was like, sure, just come to a training and we'll see. Because most people go for one training and say they can't hack it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course, I mean, which I will say is so. Shout out to Thunder Rosa because for most people don't know, she also fights in MMA too. So shout out to Thunder
yeah,
Rosa as
got
that
into it.
part.
Yeah.
I mean, she's an amazing human being. But of course, another thing too is that when you started training for MMA, I mean, talk about the training process and how much has training helped you out not only as a fighter but also as a person as well.
Well, exactly. And I feel like that's what my purpose in getting into it was. I think of it as such a blessing, like just a gift that it came into my life because how it's enhanced me from the inside out. I don't know what I would be doing otherwise. I was much more a party girl. Even when I got into wrestling, pro wrestling, I was still partying and I spent a lot of my 20s working at a strip club, very over 40 around the USA, but that's a different story for a different day. I tried to make a documentary about it, and I have this footage that just collects dust. Um, and I just feel like when I found jujitsu is what it was, is the first time I felt what it feels like to have such a fascination for something that I became dedicated to it, a devotion. A lot of it's from my sensei too. His name is Jamie Hara. He went by El Kukui. He fought MMA, but he was my first jujitsu sensei, and something about him just motivated me. He had this weird, mysterious, mean way of teaching, and it worked. And so I was hooked. But I also was hooked too because went in there coming from pro wrestling where I'm body slamming men and other huge people. And then I go my first days in jujitsu and all these tiny little girls are choking me out. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I was like starstruck, like fascinated. And yeah, I stuck with it. And what I saw, it was for the first time in my life. So if you look at, you even said it earlier, but if you look at even prior to all this, I always was doing this, doing that, doing that, doing this, and no one could really keep track. And they're just kind of like confused. And I feel like a lot, if a lot of, I have a lot of experience, right? But I
Yeah,
didn't stick around with one or two of those things to really cultivate it and grow it into something huge
yeah.
because I was so like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And there's something to be said for that. I know a little about a lot, but I didn't get to put any roots down until this jujitsu turned MMA stuff, and to feel what my body was capable of that I never had any idea. And then later, as I started fighting, my dad took me to see Sadhguru back in like 2019, and I had already been on this path of like where we all are now, which I think is kind of inevitable. This path of like inner exploration, inner engineering, what Sadhguru calls it, and if I hadn't already been on that path to use these tools that I learned, which meditation and visualization, obviously, then I must have applied it. I might have applied it to whatever else I was doing, but I was able to apply it to the fighting and the training and the breath work for my body, the way it actually changes your physiology and affects your body because we're all so connected, even though they're separate, mind, body, and emotions, they're separate, but they have to work together. So I'm just so thankful that I had fighting and training to like solidify and confirm that these practices, they work.
They definitely do work for sure. And of course, I definitely want to get a chance to talk to you. I mean, you talked about you joined pro wrestling, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that you looked up and you idolized. Was there anybody that you was just a fan of as you started getting involved with wrestling?
With wrestling, well, so that's the other thing is like I feel like as a kid I didn't have anybody to look up to. I feel like it's so important. It was pro wrestling was the first time I saw these kids, especially working native communities or events like Indigenous Comic Con. We actually shared the ring with Tatanka, which was really cool. But for the first time, I saw these kids looking at me like that, like, like if I could do it, they can do it. And there's hope, and I'm like them, and our brown eyes are looking the same. Like you can feel that connection. And I never had that shit growing up. It was like, who was that for me, right? Like I don't know why. I had really excellent teachers and coaches, and I loved my parents very much, but just I didn't have that. I want to be like that. I want to do that. So I feel like maybe that's why I ended up living my life like, oh, and try this, try that. Like I didn't really have
Yeah.
that direction. But well, so repeat the question again because I went off on a little tangent there.
Jay, you good? I mean, my question to you was, did you ever had anybody that you looked up to or you
Oh, right,
idolized as you was joining wrestling?
right. So since I didn't have it growing up, I didn't kind of know what that was like until I saw those children seeing me that way for the first time. Like, oh, and then I think about how you're supposed to look at life with like a childlike wonder, no matter what age you are, just of curiosity and of interest and desire to learn, because you can learn something from anybody, right? And I would say that throughout the years, someone like Thunder Rosa, for example, let's talk about her. Like, she didn't have what she has now. It's been 10 years or so, right? She's really cultivated and brought out her inner Thunder Rosa self. Like before, she was a lot more timid, right? And so it's people like that that I saw becoming who they are, and some people actually went the other way and started being more fake, but you could see the difference and you could feel it. And the fans can tell too. They only like authentic. But I would say it's like the girls that I saw coming up where they finally just embodied who they really are. The people who come to mind, actually, I didn't know her before it, but La Rosa Negra, I had some matches with in Puerto Rico. She always just kind of carried herself with that little sass and attitude. And I always looked up to that. So it's not so much their wrestling abilities and skills, but just how they mm, wanted to depict who they are.
Yeah. I think that's a very beautiful thing, and of course, back to the fighting side of things. I mean, this is something I love to get a chance to ask all the fighters this because each fighter has their different perspective when it comes to training. At times there's been the best part about trainings, but then again, there are some parts that can be difficult more than others. So my question to you is, what has been the hardest part about training?
Honestly, it's been training is the hardest part. Weight cutting is the hardest part about a fight, but for me at least. But training is the hardest part. It's one it's one of those things where you choose to put yourself in a shitty situation. You're
Yeah,
choosing to get your ass kicked. You don't want to, but you know you have to go through it in order to get better. You know
yeah,
you have to endure it in order to learn. You know it's just part of the process, right? And that's hard, especially when you're injured. And I mean, I've had certain people say, "Oh, we're always injured. We're all injured." I'm like, I can't lift my arm up, but I'm still here and I'm still training. But just be careful. Like, oh, they're telling me I'm complaining too much. So that was the hardest thing is like having the discernment to let your body rest
yeah,
or or just keep pushing through because you have to. There's no other way to get better. But training also, well, just fighting in general also showed me that sometimes you have to slow down or your body will make you.
yeah.
Um,
And it's not easy
yeah,
too. I mean, it's not easy too,
yeah,
considering the fact it's like you're not only thinking about the weight cut, but it's, fans who don't understand as far as the training aspects, you got to get stuff ready both physically and mentally. And of course, we'll talk about the
yeah.
mental aspects here in just a few short moments. But of course, while we're talking about training, you basically train at Extreme Couture. Talk about how much they've helped you ever since you joined them.
Yeah, well, I chose to move to Extreme Couture when I decided to take my first pro fights. Um, I was at Syndicate prior to that, and I love Syndicate, and I appreciate everything that I received from their teachings. I think they're great people there. I think it's a great school. But Extreme is on this whole other level, like this whole other level of skill. For example, last year I did a European tour, and while I was traveling, I think to 7 different European countries, I went to jujitsu gym at least one night in every city, and I was just schooling kids left and right. A couple of schools are like, "Oh, well, our women's class is on Saturday." I'm like, "No, I'm fine here now." And then they're asking me for advice, right? But then I go back to Extreme, thinking oh, I must have leveled up. I'm getting good. Nope, humbled right back down, humbled at Extreme Couture. So it's definitely helped me in mm, kind of. understanding who I'm going with, right? Like these people are world class. They live and breathe fighting. Their family's been fighting. They have their entire family behind their back, like in their corner
Yeah,
to fight with. And I've kind of always been solo. I will say that my grappling coach helped me tremendously. They're at Extreme. All the coaches there have a higher level of teaching and understanding than anywhere else.
yeah,
But my specific grappling coach, who leads the amateur team now or coaches them, he's if it weren't for his, I would say like mental coaching, right? So
yeah,
mental coaching, it's choosing not to like focus on the mistakes and rather see them as exactly that, like what can you learn from it by, and also accepting compliments when you do something really well. You're like, well, I could have done, I'm always like, I could have done better, I should have went deeper, I should have came out faster and then went like, no, there's all kinds of should haves or could haves, and he helped me realize that you're going to flow. You're just going to go with it and flow. And through his coaching, actually, I learned how to love myself a lot better. It's a weird thing.
I mean, it's very beautiful to say that that the sport has made a tremendous impact. And my next question, this is definitely one of my favorite questions. I love to get a chance to ask all the fighters because I'm a very big advocate when it comes to talk about how much of an impact the sport has made on us mentally. Because for fans don't know, I mean, I struggle with depression, and anxiety. I take medication. I go to therapy for it. But yet, as a
Yeah.
fighter, I mean, this sport can do many incredible things. So my question to you is, how much has the sport helped you out mentally?
So much. So much. You know what? When I first started training for my first or second amateur fight, I remember feeling like I had anxiety. Um, and I learned, I don't know, nobody told me, I don't know why they don't talk about it more, especially to new fighters, but I learned that my adrenal glands were getting drained, not just from the physical exertion, but mental. Like I always overthink. I've always been overthinking. I've calmed that down a lot, but I was draining myself in all aspects. So there was like natural herbs and supplements you could take to help with that adrenal fatigue. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I even have one right now. It's called Deep Stress. There's several things in it. And it worked like magic. Like it's the natural herb, and it just needed my little adrenal glands just needed some support. That's it. And then all those types of supplements and supplementation that we kind of lose as we get older anyway. But when we're like exerting our body and physically, and then it's going mentally, and then you're getting emotional, because there's been days I got my ass kicked and I'd go to my car and just cry, not because I was sad, but just because you're just so, that hasn't happened in a long time with a lot of my amateur days, but you're just exerting, draining all of your energies. And the supplementation is really important. And that's something that I have learned. I don't think I would have learned otherwise.
And I think it's a very beautiful thing. And of course, I definitely want to get a chance to talk about this. So to the fans that are watching this live or will watch this, we basically have less than 2 days until the end of September ends, which is Suicide Prevention Month, which means a lot to me. And of course,
Yeah.
for one thing is though is that I've learned it's okay to not be okay. Second of all, this world
Yeah.
needs you because I mean, at the end of the day, whether you see Jesslyn or so many fighters out there, they're not only warriors inside the cage, but of course they're warriors outside the cage. So please, one thing I can tell you is do not give up because this life is not worth giving up. If anything, this life needs you now more than ever because it's people like you that can inspire souls like me, and I can honestly say this. So I'm very very proud of you because it's not easy transitioning into a sport that you didn't think that you would be a part of. And guess what? Here you are today. You are gone from different European countries. You got a chance to go fight for PFL. It's a very beautiful thing. And I think every fighter needs to start talking more about this because people don't understand what type of impact you ladies do. So I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, like I'm honored to even think that it makes you feel any type of way that's positive or inspired. And the fact that you're here wanting to hear my story, but look at you doing what you're doing, and you're fighting your own fights and your own battles, and everybody has their own fights and their own battles, and we don't talk about it, especially males. Where males are not told that they can feel a certain way about these fights and battles, that they just have to be, tough and endure it. But those things are some of the things that are changing in our society, I think, in general, overall. and that it is okay to feel not okay. But we need the tools to deal with it. Their techniques or tools. Um, for example, as a metaphor, we could use a fight. If someone keeps taking my back because I'm in a turtle position, then I could stick my arm this way and like keep them from rotating there, right? So that's just one little technique. That,
Yeah.
but we have that in life too. Breath work, like taking deep breaths every single day. I rest my soul that if everyone did more deep breathing and conscious breathing, their ailments would just start to dissipate. I have told someone close to me that I would wager my life if someone was dedicated enough to do it
Yeah.
consistently for 21 days or plus in the right way, they would notice a drastic difference, if not feel yeah, it totally eliminated. But I mean, we're just barely starting to touch that. Like research is starting to show up that. But I don't know what you're doing that for your technique, but it seems to be working. And I think probably for you, it's that you're giving and still appreciating. And that's also something we fail when we start feeling down. We forget to like look up. There's so many other things to be appreciative of that if we don't notice, we'll continue to spiral down.
Yeah, I mean, and there was just something I kind of worked on before I started going into therapy. It was like I had a huge issue of loving myself, and now about a month later, I'm starting to love myself more. And another thing
Yeah.
too is like the biggest thing I'm trying to be able to build with this is for you girls to share your stories. Is for you girls to know that you girls are worth everything. As far as I love spending my time hearing your story and so many others because if we can be able to inspire somebody with your stories that I know not only just myself,
Aw.
but you as well can be able to do something right up there.
Thank you. And thank you for being willing to go to therapy. We all should. We all need it.
Yeah, we
Jesus
definitely
needs
all
it.
need it. But of course, another thing too is that as a professional, I mean, we've all had to go through the amateur days of fighting. So, do you ever kind of just take time for yourself to just look back on from where you started to where you are now?
It's a good question. I don't think I have. I think I should do that because I'm always still trying to think about the next thing I've got to do or yeah, just to sit back and appreciate it, huh? Because I'm thinking about what am I doing right now? Do I got to do to get to where I'm going? Like I need to just settle down and be thankful I got to do what I've done.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
not to
thank
mention
you.
that is, I mean, of course, but of course, not to mention that is that I definitely want to get a chance to look back on something. I mentioned this just a little bit ago. You got a chance to go and fight for PFL. I mean, talk about how that came about and how much fun of a journey did you had just going there to fight as it for a professional company like PFL.
Dude, that was so cool. Because it was my debut pro match. Like nobody gets to debut in a professional fight with a company that big.
Yeah.
Like that is not so common. And I'm really thankful. I think my manager, Roman, at Athletic Institution, had a lot to do with that. But I also think that the reputation you have when you're grinding in a gym, people talk. And there's a lot of people that come in and out of extreme. So maybe they saw that dedication. Um, and it was just really cool because a lot of the girls on the PFL, that card, it was their first pro fight. And yeah, I would say like about half. And I thought that was a really cool opportunity for us. And we were supposed to get an opportunity to join the actual $1 million tournament. And so I was like, this is my $1 million. I know I'm going to be a millionaire. I've always known it since I was a kid and I was never like a money kid. I didn't like a bunch of toys or material things as a kid. I just always thought I'd be a millionaire. I don't know where that even came from. And so I just thought it was my time, but after 3 fights it wasn't and then they cut the weight class anyway.
I mean, and for there's something I think that you definitely need to think about is that not too many people have the opportunity to go in there to be able to debut on live TV like
Yeah,
ESPN,
on
to go in
ESPN.
there ESPN, ESPN Plus. It was just like it was so cool for not only for just for yourself, for all the ladies who got a chance to make their debut. It was like they were
Yeah,
giving y'all a platform just for you girls with this tournament. It was just kind of just crazy. But of course, another thing that you showed too was like anything is possible. I mean, if you can go in there,
yeah,
make your pro debut, have the run that you had in PFL, then anything is possible.
yep. It is, it is. And I know there's some girls out there that made their pro debut after like later in their 30s. Danielle Wolf, for example. That's kind of all I can think of. But like for me to go in later too, like well, I started the whole thing. I started just doing everything later in life, so I was older, older than most of them, than anybody pro debuts, especially for a company that big. So I felt pretty special on that. And that just
Um,
always proved to me that like age is like a made up limitation. Sure, we get older and our bodies break down, but we could have prevented that if we took care of it throughout the previous years. Or we could at least push ourselves to where our bodies can go if we want to, if we
and of
really
course,
wanted to.
well, I mean, of course, that too is that it's just really really awesome because like I've seen how hard you worked throughout this whole entire time. It's like for anybody who goes and follows you, which by the way, it's Body Slamming Queen 3333 on Instagram. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to hype you up there. Trying to hype you up there. But of
Thank
course,
you.
hey, no problem. But it's really awesome because it's like I followed you since my last account, which was the Fighting Spotlight, and I've seen how much you've grown not only as a person but also
Oh,
as a fighter. Yeah, yeah, that was my
really?
new. Yeah, my account got hacked, so I had to make that the new one like I made.
Oh, those hackers, do they still use it?
I'm pretty sure they did because they wanted $300 out of me. So I was like, no, thank you. You can have it. I'm making the new one, which is the one I got now, which is called the Fighting Queens. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was just like crazy to
That's
think.
right.
Yeah, that was me. The Fighting Spotlight was me, and then now it goes to the Fighting Queens.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for doing what you do and giving the girls like an opportunity to talk.
I mean, you definitely deserve it. But of course, another thing too, this would be one of the questions since we talked about it at the start of the interview is that you're going to be competing for Power Slap 15 and the welterweight division against Taylor Minton. Now, you talked about this. This is the fourth time that they asked you to do this. Explain this whole thing, because like I'm very curious as to why it took you four tries.
Right. Well, the first two times were in previous years, and I was like heavy into my MMA training, and the one of the two times, the second of the two times, I was like a month out from one of my fights for a title belt. And I was like, no, I am focused on training. I got to fight. I'm a fighter. I don't slap. I punch, I kick, I choke. I don't slap. And I was like, kind of not offended, but just like, "Ugh, I would never do that." Um, but the more I watched it and the more hype there was about it, I wouldn't say that it like persuaded me, but I was just like, it's not so bad. It's another type of entertainment, just like everything else I've ever done. Entertain, at my cheeks' expense, maybe, but I went to the orientation just to assess. I didn't think at that time, I still didn't think I was going to say yes. It was the third time they asked me. It happened to be my former pro wrestling coach who I used to train with at Jake the Snake's pro wrestling school here in Vegas. He's the recruiter there, and he's like, I know what you can take. I know you're capable. I was like, all right, I'll just go to the orientation just to see. He's like, just come just to see. And I still was not into it, although it was a lot of fun seeing old pro wrestling buddies at that orientation. And a lot of them are on the card and are getting really into this power slap stuff. Local indie wrestlers they're called. And at the end of that orientation, the owner, small, little, powerful man, you could tell, I was like, what about concussions, this and that? He's like, listen, you get punched more than 3 times in your fights, right? I'm like, yeah, not ideally, but yeah. And then even 100 more in the fight camp leading up to it because it's really hard training. So I'm like, that's a good point. And then they cover medicals should something happen, God forbid. But it pays way more. Like it pays way more than MMA does because it's backed by the
Well,
machine of the UFC.
really, I did not know about that.
Yeah, yeah, that particular brand. I mean, there's other brands out there now that are starting, but they don't have the fuel. Like it's state commissioned. Like the state has to commission it. So it's
Well,
got to get
hey, I'm
approved. And
excited.
it did.
But it definitely approved for sure. And if you guys want to go check out, just the fight poster and everything, make sure you guys head on over to at slap underscore news because they had the official fight poster for you guys, and of course, as well as everything that's going to be on part of this card this coming Friday. And of course, another thing too is that and that's all something that really wanted me to ask you this. We're talking about pro wrestling that started this. I mean, it's been a while. How much do you miss pro wrestling?
I miss it. I miss it a lot. I miss just that camaraderie, the character, the improv, because you never really know how it's going to go, and you never know what the crowd's going to feel like, and you never know if you get the mic what you're going to say. Like it, I miss that. Like it's just off the cuff all the time. Um, I don't miss traveling and performing for little money on the indie circuit. There's very little money, and as a matter of fact, I'm not sure if they still do it, but like workers will do shows for $20 for like a year or two. I mean, they'll travel up and down the state of California for $20 just to get out there. And I'm like, I understand you got to pay your dues. I understand you kind of got to build that, but that's that's too long. Like it's not it's a hobby at that point, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you are exceptional, it definitely helps you and is worth it to get out. But it shouldn't take 2 years. If you're really that good, someone's going to notice, and you'll get picked up by one of these bigger leagues. And there are really big pro wrestling leagues that pay well,
Yeah,
like and
outside
big
of
shows.
yeah, I mean outside of WWE, I mean you're looking at a lot of different promotions. I mean you're looking at AEW, which is basically the one promotion everybody is trying to go after because they not only basically what AEW does is they take care of not only those who do Dynamite and Collision, but rumors are they're possibly bringing back their YouTube shows like Dark or Dark Elevation. So
Yeah,
it's basically just like a great opportunity. And I believe there are some other promotions, TNA is one of them, and just
yeah,
many different promotions that you see that
exactly.
are getting all the talent. If I'm not mistaken, a couple of people from Las Vegas, Karrion Cross, pretty good
Yeah,
example, worked and started off in TNA to go into WWE, and now I guess he's going to GCW at some point, I believe. So my point is that there's always a lot of great promotions that they can
yeah,
wrestle for.
yep, yeah, there are. And right before COVID happened, I think it was the January before everything shut down, I got signed to WoW. And WoW is fun. It's all women's promotion, but it's like a TV show. And it's just, I miss that. I miss the production element of it. So, you know,
I mean, I remember
but
WoW, cause WoW would occasionally play here in West Virginia a couple of times, like a night at least. So it's always really, really cool just to look back as far as where WoW went, and I
yeah.
definitely do agree they definitely should bring back WoW just for you to get back on there. I would not mind
Oh,
that
no,
at all.
they're running it. They're running it. That's the year I stopped focusing on pro wrestling. But yeah, no, it's out. It still looks really good.
Well, hey, I'll definitely
My
have to tune in
friends.
for that. But I
Yeah.
have a very important question for you, and this is definitely going to be
Yes,
my last question of the evening. Are you ready for this one?
I am ready.
Alrighty, so we all want to be recognized for something that we do in the sport. Me, I just want to be recognized as that sweet, cheesy interviewer for the sport. But you, as a fighter, you want to be recognized for something different. So my question to you is, what's something you want to be recognized for during a time of fighting?
I've never thought about that because I never thought about needing that recognition. I just wanted to do well. But then I realized that doing well is still my need for approval and getting recognition. So when I think about it right now,
Yeah.
I would like to be known to be that fighter that shows this vulnerability. Like, I don't know if you read some of my posts and stuff, I just let it all out there, especially my Facebook. I don't usually allow people on my Facebook unless I've met you personally. So, yes, 4,000 plus people I've personally met and have to like them. Um, so I definitely share a lot. Whereas I feel like if I didn't try to go so in depth and go too deep, it might be easier for the fans to recognize, oh, she's fun, oh, she's tough, or she's got this going on. Like it's clear cut. But no, I just go in deep. I just go to like this interview. Maybe you might think that, but that's I can't fix. I can't change that. I don't think it needs to be fixed, but I don't want to be any otherwise. Although it might not be conducive to like superstardom, that's fine. I want to be known that I could make it this far later in life and like later ages in life and still be open and vulnerable and have other talents too, like fighting. As much as I love fighting and training, I've noticed a couple of my girlfriends having a hard time transitioning into real life. It's
Yeah.
like you got to find something else. Like, and that's hard. I don't find that it's going to be too hard for me when I make that decision, just because I already have so many more interests. Um, so I guess the short answer is I'd like to be known for a fighter that wasn't limited by age or thinking that that's all I am. Because
Yeah.
it's not what we do, it's who we are.
And who you are is just being the most incredible human being that we can never know for. And I gotta say this though, from the bottom of my heart, I mean, you have definitely made an impact on my life just by being here.
Oh,
You definitely may have made an impact on others. I mean, really truly, it's like, and don't mind me for getting a little bit teary, but it's just like it's always incredible to see what you girls do because we all need to have that light. We all need to have something, and for you just being part of the sport, it doesn't matter what age you are at right now. Because, and I will tell you this, I've seen women in 40s still fighting, and it's always inspiring.
mm,
So, really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, keep doing what you're doing, being the absolute goddess that you are. Keep doing
oh,
what you're doing. That's by being the most amazing human being that we are all glad to get a chance to have of. And you know what? Get ready for cheesy, Jake, be it for just having you on here. I mean, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. But
yes, you are.
real, I
Thank you.
mean,
But
really,
thank
truly,
you.
like, thank you for everything that you are. It's like you're such an inspiration. You're such an amazing human being, and I'm so glad that you've taken the time out of the schedule just to be on here because
Oh,
I knew
my,
I knew that when I followed you that there was something incredible about you, and I still mean that to
mm,
this day.
thank you. Well, you see in others what you have in yourself. So that says that about you.
I'm just me being me. That if I can be able to just try to make an impact on just the way that you girls are making an impact on us guys, then I know I'm doing something right here.
You are. You are. We really appreciate you. Thank you so
Well,
much.
well, in case you guys missed out as far as following her Instagram, and of course I'm gonna get a chance to hype it up one more time. Go follow her at Body Slamming Queen 333. Once again, that is at Body Slamming Queen 333. Make sure you guys go follow her, and if you're following her from her side, I am Jake, not from State Farm, representing the Fighting Queens. And of course, you guys will see it as far as our collaborations on this. Real quick though, shout out to Millions for this interview because without them, we wouldn't be able to get a chance to have this interview in the first place. So really, truly,
Yeah.
shout out to Millions, guys.
Shout out
Thanks
to
so
millions.
much. Millions,
Yeah.
millions. Thank you
The
so much.
millions is amazing. Like they're opening up so much for so many athletes and interviewers and stories. I appreciate them
I mean, when I saw you on Millions, I was like, that's like one of the key interviews I gotta have. So I was like,
a lot.
I'm like, please tell me that she's available. Please tell me she's available. And then once when I
Ah,
got it, I was like, yes, yes, I got it.
well, maybe we'll schedule another one for next week after I win the slapping, and I'll maybe be in a different mood. I'm just really mellow today.
It's okay. I mean, just the way you are is just amazing. It's okay to be mellow. I promise you, you're perfectly fine. This interview turned out great. I had a great time. I just hope that you had a great time.
I did. Thank you.
It means a lot to me just to be able to hear you say that because I may end up sounding stuttery like I'm Ricky Bobby before he does an
No,
interview, but
no, you're
it's
excellent. Yeah,
it's like a I don't know what to do with my hands type of moment before I start.
in your
Uh,
armpits.
just yeah, just in my armpits. Just try to be chill. Try to act like I'm tough. Know full well that
Well,
it's
no, yeah,
okay.
thank you. I love the way that you segued. You contributed to the answers that you of the questions you asked, and then you segued nicely into the others. So good work.
I mean, especially when I've been doing this now for the past 4 years. I mean, it's definitely I've had to learn a lot, but I've also had to learn. It's like don't immediately start rushing into it. Just take your time and everything. And I feel like
But,
as far as the mental aspects of things, like I said before, I believe that that's what everybody should be start talking about because you know, from somebody who has struggled in my past, I mean, I've always said it before, if you do struggle, and I mean this when I say this, there's always a light at the end of that tunnel. It's not going to happen today, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but eventually it's going to happen.
yeah, yeah. And sometimes that struggle is exactly what it's like to train as a metaphor. it's tough and we think there's no answer or escape, but when you do, and you always will. Sometimes it just takes longer. Then you're like, wow, I did that. I'm okay. Everything's going to be all right.
I do believe that everything's going to be all right. Jesslyn, once again, I wish you the best of luck this coming Friday. Guys, go check out her slap fight, Power Slap 15, presented by Slap News. You guys can go check that out. But Jesslyn, we'll definitely talk more after that whole thing is done. We'll talk about the
Yeah.
experience and everything.
Yeah. It's
But
my first one. So yeah.
it would definitely be worth the wait. But guys, go follow her, go follow me. That is our time here today. If you guys are watching us live from millions, please go and follow me. Go follow Jesslyn because she's an amazing human being, as you can tell. But until then, guys, for Miss Jesslyn, I am Jake saying so long, and we'll see you guys next time. See you guys.
Bye.